All right, so, we've all heard about the Ivy League, those super prestigious schools,
Yeah.
right? We see all these incredibly successful people who went there, leaders in business, politics, you name it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It seems like they just churn out these high achievers year after year.
Hmm.
And the common assumption is that it's all about brain.
Brains.
Right. Raw intelligence. But what if I told you there might be something more to it? Like a secret ingredient beyond just being super smart.
Well, that's precisely the question our source material dives into today. It's called The Ivy League Secret. Is it more about brotherhood than brains? So, yeah, it definitely challenges that traditional idea.
Brotherhood. Huh.
Yeah.
That's a pretty intriguing title. So what's the secret all about?
Well, think about it. We often focus on the impressive resumes and the academic achievements of Ivy League grads, but we don't always see what's happening behind the scenes, like the powerful networks that are operating.
Oh, okay.
And that's what the source calls brotherhood. And they argue that it's a key factor in their consistent success.
Brotherhood, huh? Sounds a bit like a secret society or something.
You're not far off. The source actually compares it to the teachings of the Sacred Atlantean Brotherhood,
Okay.
which is an organization that really emphasizes strong, supportive communities as the key to success.
Interesting.
And they say the Ivy League kind of operates on a similar principle.
So how does this brotherhood actually work in the real world?
Yeah.
Like in the Ivy League setting? Are we talking about actual fraternities?
It's definitely more than just, formal fraternities.
Mm-hmm.
Think exclusive clubs, secret societies like Yale's Skull and Bones,
Oh, yeah.
which, you hear about.
Yeah.
But the source is saying those are really just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
The real point is that these institutions cultivate a sense of connection and loyalty that goes way beyond just the classroom.
Okay, so it's not just about getting good grades.
Yeah.
It's about who you connect with while you're there.
Exactly. It shapes careers and even influences entire industries for years and years.
That's a pretty big claim. So is there any evidence that this brotherhood really gives them some sort of advantage?
Well, just look at the numbers. I mean, just look at how many Ivy League graduates end up in positions of real power.
Yeah, that's true.
We're talking CEOs, politicians, judges, you name it.
Yeah, you see them everywhere.
And the source argues that this isn't just a coincidence. It's a direct result of this network, this interwoven web of support.
So you're saying that this brotherhood actually helps them climb the ladder, but how does it work? I mean, are we talking about, special favors, backroom deals, that sort of thing?
It's not necessarily about shady dealings, although I'm sure those things happen too.
Right.
But the source emphasizes that it's often more subtle than that.
Okay.
It's about this network providing access, opportunity, and mentorship that people outside the circle just wouldn't have.
I see. So it's not necessarily about getting an unfair advantage. It's more about having access to resources and opportunities that other people might not even know about.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I can see how that could be a huge advantage in the real world.
Imagine graduating with not just a degree, but a whole network of influential contacts ready to help you out.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's a pretty powerful advantage.
So it sounds like the source is saying that the network itself is the real prize, even more valuable than the education itself. Would you agree with that?
That's a bold statement for sure. But the source isn't saying that academics don't matter at all.
Right.
It's more about how this brotherhood amplifies individual achievements,
Okay.
creates a kind of collective success that benefits everyone in the network.
I'm starting to understand why they call it a secret. It's not exactly something they advertise in their brochures.
Right. It's more of this unspoken understanding, this cultural undercurrent
Yeah.
that permeates these institutions.
It's like you're getting a peek behind the curtain of this exclusive world.
Yeah.
But, this whole idea of brotherhood, I got to say, it feels a little outdated to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
And even a bit, exclusive.
Yeah, that's a fair point. The term itself definitely has some baggage, but the source is using it more as a metaphor to describe the strong bonds of loyalty and support that really define these networks.
Right.
But you're right. Historically, the Ivy League has been a very male-dominated world.
Yeah, for sure.
So the term brotherhood does, it reflects that history.
It makes sense in that context.
Yeah.
But even beyond the gender aspect, I'm guessing this kind of brotherhood isn't exactly open to everyone.
Right. That's where things get a bit more complicated.
Yeah.
The source does acknowledge that the exclusivity of these networks
Yeah.
can create some, real inequalities and limit access to opportunities
For sure.
for those outside the Ivy League circle.
Yeah, it's definitely a double-edged sword.
It is.
So we're starting to see some of the potential downsides of this system, But it doesn't seem like the source is entirely critical of the Ivy League, right?
No, not really.
Right.
It's a more nuanced view than that. They acknowledge that while these networks can have negative consequences, they also demonstrate something really important, which is the power of community and connection in driving success.
Right. So it's not necessarily the system itself that's bad.
Yeah.
It's how it's used and who has access to it.
Exactly. It raises important questions about, privilege and social capital.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
how those things contribute to success.
Right. And that's something we'll have to explore further, I think.
Yeah.
But for now, I want to get back to how this brotherhood actually translates into real-world advantages.
Okay.
What are the mechanisms at play here?
Well, one of the most obvious ways is through the alumni network. I mean,
Yeah.
these are some of the most connected people in the world.
Yeah.
They're constantly interacting, sharing information, opening doors for each other.
So we're talking about more than just, attending a few alumni events and shaking hands.
Oh, sure.
This is a deeply ingrained culture of support.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
there's this specific example in this source that really stood out to me. It talks about how alumni will often go out of their way to mentor younger graduates, to help them navigate these really competitive fields like finance law or politics.
So they're not just handing out business cards. They're actually providing guidance and support.
Yeah, they might share insights into, office politics or connect them with influential people
Oh, wow.
or even vouch for them when they're applying for, really competitive positions.
It's like having a built-in support system that extends way beyond graduation day.
Exactly. And the source argues that Ivy League institutions are really, really effective at instilling this sense of belonging and shared purpose in their students. And that carries over into their professional lives, creating a network of support and influence that helps them get ahead.
So it's not just about the individual brilliance of the students.
Yeah.
It's about the system that nurtures and amplifies that brilliance.
Yeah,
That's a pretty powerful concept.
it really is.
It makes you wonder, what if we could all tap into that kind of support system no matter where we went to school or what field we're in?
That's a great question, and one we'll definitely explore further. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's dig a little deeper into how this alumni network actually functions.
Yeah. I mean, I'm picturing these big, fancy networking events, but I'm guessing it goes beyond just that, right?
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
We're talking about a level of access and opportunity that's just unparalleled.
Okay.
The source describes these exclusive alumni events where you have industry leaders mixing with up-and-coming stars, creating opportunities for mentorship and collaboration that you wouldn't find anywhere else.
So it's like a fast track to the upper echelons of power and influence.
It is.
No wonder people are so fascinated by the Ivy League.
Right.
It's like this exclusive club that everyone wants to be a part of.
But it's important to remember that these events aren't just about schmoozing and networking.
Okay.
They're very carefully designed to foster genuine connections and to create a sense of shared history and purpose.
It sounds like they've really perfected the art of community building. But doesn't that create a bit of an us versus them mentality? Like if you have all the advantages, and if you're not, you're kind of left out in the cold.
Yeah, that's the dilemma, isn't it?
Yeah.
The source acknowledges that these networks can be a barrier
Okay.
to those outside the Ivy League circle.
Right, and that raises questions about fairness
Absolutely.
and whether success is really about merit or just who,
Yeah, it's a complex issue for sure.
it is. Definitely something to think about. But before we get too deep into that, I want to shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about another aspect of this Ivy League secret. It's not just about who you know, it's also about this culture of giving back.
You got it. That's a key point.
Well,
The source really emphasizes that this network thrives on reciprocity.
what do you mean by that?
Well, members are expected to support each other, offer guidance, open doors for those coming up behind them.
So it's not just about it's about contributing to the success of the group as a whole.
Exactly. And that's what I find so fascinating about this system. It's not just about individual ambition.
Right.
It's about a shared commitment to lifting up the entire community.
Okay, but how does this giving back actually work in practice? Are we talking about, financial donations, mentorship, or something else entirely?
It takes a lot of different forms.
Okay.
The source gives examples of alumni donating generously to their schools, funding scholarships, creating programs to support students from underrepresented backgrounds.
So it's not just about helping their buddies get ahead. It's about creating opportunities for a wider range of people.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because the source argues that this culture of giving back isn't just about altruism.
Okay.
It's also about strengthening the network itself. By investing in the success of future generations, they're ensuring the continued influence of their schools, which ultimately benefits them in the long run.
It's like a self-perpetuating cycle of success.
Exactly.
Where the more you give, the more you receive.
It's a system that's been honed over centuries.
Yeah.
Creating this incredibly powerful force that shapes everything from business to politics to culture.
This is all incredibly insightful. But I'm wondering, how does this connect back to the teachings of that Sacred Atlantean Brotherhood we talked about earlier?
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
You're right. We haven't fully made that connection yet.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
So the Brotherhood really emphasizes this idea that true success isn't just about individual achievement.
Yep.
It's about the collective uplift of the entire community.
So they're not just looking out for themselves. They're trying to help everyone rise together.
Exactly. And the source is arguing that the Ivy League, in its own way, embodies this principle.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection. But if the Brotherhood's teachings are more about broad principles of community and collaboration, how do they translate into the very specific and arguably exclusive structures of the Ivy League?
That's a great question, and it suggests that maybe the Ivy League, whether intentionally or not, has tapped into some fundamental truths about human nature and the power of collective action.
So it's not about copying the Ivy League exactly. It's about understanding the underlying principles and applying them to our own lives and communities.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, this whole brotherhood thing still feels a bit problematic.
Yeah, I get that.
It feels a bit antiquated and exclusionary. Is there a better way to describe this dynamic? Something that feels more inclusive and relevant to the 21st century?
That's a great question, and you've hit on a key point.
Okay.
The source itself acknowledges that the language we use to describe these networks can be, well, a bit loaded.
So how do we move beyond that? How do we find a more accurate and inclusive way to describe this phenomenon?
That's a great question, and one that we will definitely be tackling in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, looking forward to it.
So as we were saying before, the term brotherhood, it's a bit loaded, right?
I mean, it has its roots in the history of the Ivy League.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really capture the full picture of these networks today.
Exactly, especially with how much they're changing.
So if we want to move beyond that term, how do we describe this whole thing in a way that's more, accurate and inclusive?
That's the challenge, isn't it? The source actually suggests that as the Ivy League itself has become more diverse, these networks have had to adapt as well.
Makes sense.
We're seeing more women, people of color, folks from different socioeconomic backgrounds rising to positions of influence.
So it's not just an old boys club anymore.
Not entirely, although those challenges and inequalities definitely still exist.
Right.
But the source points to a growing recognition within these institutions that to be successful in the future, they really need to embrace diversity.
That's interesting. So what's driving that change? Is it purely pragmatic, or is there something more at play?
It's probably a mix of factors. The source suggests that in today's world, it's so interconnected and competitive.
Yeah.
These institutions are starting to realize that there are old ways of doing things that exclusivity, it's just not sustainable anymore.
So diversity isn't just a feel-good thing. It's actually a strategic advantage.
Exactly. The source argues that by creating a more inclusive environment, these networks can tap into a much wider pool of talent and ideas.
Right, which ultimately makes them more successful.
Exactly. It's about staying relevant in a world that's constantly changing.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But even if these networks are becoming more diverse, the core principle of connection and support that remains the same, right?
Absolutely. The source emphasizes that regardless of who's at the table,
Right.
the real value of these networks is that sense of belonging, shared purpose, and mutual support.
Okay, so we've established that these networks are evolving. But how do they actually function in the real world? Can you give some concrete examples of how this brotherhood, or whatever we're calling it now, translates into tangible benefits?
Okay, so let's imagine you just landed your dream job at a prestigious consulting firm.
Okay.
You're surrounded by super smart people, but the work is really demanding and the competition is fierce.
It's a high-pressure environment.
It is. Now imagine you have access to a network of former alumni who have been in your shoes.
Hmm.
They've faced the same challenges, they've learned the ropes, and they've climbed the ladder.
So it's like having a secret weapon, an invisible support system.
Exactly. And the source gives some really fascinating real-world examples of how this plays out.
Okay, like what?
Well, for instance, alumni often act as informal mentors
Right.
to younger grads, helping them navigate the cutthroat worlds of finance law or politics.
It's like having someone to guide you through the maze.
It is. They might give you insights into office politics or introduce you to the right people,
Hmm.
or even, put in a good word for you when you're applying for a competitive position.
That's a huge advantage.
It is. It's like a guild system from medieval times.
What do you mean?
Well, you know how masters would pass on their knowledge and skills to apprentices?
Right.
It's kind of like that.
Interesting analogy.
Yeah.
So it's not just about casual networking. It's about a deeper level of commitment.
Exactly. It's about loyalty and obligation, a sense that you're all in this together.
Okay, so we've talked about mentorship.
Mm.
What about more concrete benefits like access to funding or investment opportunities? Does this network play a role there too?
Absolutely. The source describes how alumni investors often give priority to ventures that are led by fellow graduates.
Really?
Yeah, giving them access to capital that might not be available to outsiders.
Wow, that's huge. It's like having a built-in angel investor network.
Right. And it creates this cycle of success where alumni wealth gets reinvested back into the community.
So the rich get richer.
Well, it's not always that simple, but it does raise questions about fairness and whether everyone has an equal shot.
Yeah, I mean, this all sounds great if you're part of the club. But what about everyone else? It seems like the system could actually reinforce existing inequalities.
That's a crucial point, and the source doesn't shy away from that.
Oh, yeah.
They acknowledge that these networks can perpetuate inequalities
Right.
and limit opportunities for those who didn't go to an Ivy League school.
So how do we reconcile those two things? The benefits of the network and the need for fairness. Can we have both?
That's the million-dollar question,
Yeah.
and one that we'll definitely keep exploring.
Okay, but for now, I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier.
Mhm.
This idea that these networks are evolving to be more inclusive.
Mm.
Is there any real evidence of that, or is it just wishful thinking?
The source does offer some encouraging examples. It points out that a lot of Ivy League schools are actively working to diversify their student bodies
Yeah.
and create a more welcoming atmosphere for people from all backgrounds.
But does that actually translate into real change within these informal networks? Are we seeing more diversity in leadership positions?
There's definitely progress being made, but the source acknowledges there's still a long way to go.
Okay.
It emphasizes that it's not just about ticking boxes.
Right.
It's about a fundamental shift in mindset and culture.
So it's not enough to just have a diverse student body.
Mhm.
You have to create a culture where everyone feels like they belong and have the opportunity to succeed.
Exactly. And that takes time and effort.
It does. So it sounds like the old brotherhood is slowly giving way to something new, but it's still a work in progress.
That's a good way to put it. It's messy and it's slow, but the source suggests that things are moving in the right direction.
I hope so. Because for most people listening, the Ivy League probably feels like a world apart.
Yeah.
So what can we take away from all this? How can we apply these insights to our own lives, even if we don't have a fancy degree or a Rolodex full of influential alumni?
That's where things get really interesting, because the source argues that the principles behind these networks are actually universal. Doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or an artist or a student or just someone who wants to make a difference.
Yeah.
The power of community and connection can be transformative for anyone.
So it's not about trying to replicate the Ivy League exactly. It's about understanding the principles and applying them in a way that makes sense for our own lives.
Exactly. The key takeaway is that we all have the potential to build our own networks of support and influence.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's not as simple as just joining a few LinkedIn groups and calling it a day.
Right. It takes more than that. It
Well-
takes a shift in mindset.
How so?
Well, it's about moving beyond those transactional relationships,
Uh-huh.
where you're just trying to get something.
Yeah.
And instead focusing on building genuine connections
Oh.
based on shared values, mutual respect, and a willingness to support each other's growth.
So how do we do that? How do we build those kinds of relationships in a world that often feels very transactional and superficial?
That's the big question, and it's something we'll dive into much deeper in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we've been exploring this Ivy League secret, and it's really fascinating.
It is.
We've gone beyond, you know, those stereotypes of secret societies and fancy degrees.
Right.
And we're seeing that it's really about the power of community.
Yeah.
This network of support
Yeah.
that helps people achieve incredible things.
Exactly.
And you've been saying that we can all tap into this power,
Yeah.
even if we didn't go to an Ivy League school.
We can.
So how do we actually do it? Where do we even begin?
Well, I think it starts with a shift in perspective.
Okay.
Remember those teachings from the Sacred Atlantean Brotherhood?
Yeah, they talked about collective uplift, right?
Right. They emphasize that true success is about more than just personal gain.
So it's about helping each other grow and working together to achieve something bigger.
Exactly. And that's really the foundation for building a powerful network. It's not about what you can get out of it. It's about what you can contribute.
Okay, so it's about genuine connection, not just, trying to use people to get ahead.
Right.
But in a world that's so competitive, how do we actually put that into practice?
It starts with figuring out what you care about. What are you passionate about? What kind of impact do you want to make?
So figure out your purpose first.
Yeah. Once you have a clear sense of that, you can start looking for communities and people who share those values.
So instead of just going to every networking event and collecting business cards,
Right.
be more intentional about who you're connecting with.
Exactly. Look for groups and organizations that align with what you care about.
Okay,
Go to events where you can meet people who are working on things that you find inspiring.
that makes sense. So let's say I've found my tribe.
Uh-huh.
I'm surrounded by people who are doing amazing things. How do I go beyond just being casual acquaintances and actually build those deeper, more meaningful connections?
That's where the magic of reciprocity comes in.
Okay. I remember you mentioned that before.
Yeah, the Ivy League network really thrives on this culture of giving back.
Yeah.
It's about supporting, guiding, and sharing resources with others without expecting anything in return.
So it's not just about taking.
Yeah.
It's about giving back to the community.
Exactly. Think about what you can offer. Maybe you're a great listener and can provide support to someone who's struggling. Or maybe you have expertise in a certain area and can mentor someone who's just starting out.
Okay.
Or maybe you have a lot of connections and can introduce people who could benefit from knowing each other.
I'm starting to see how this creates a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Everyone benefits from sharing their knowledge and supporting each other.
And that's what's so powerful about it. When we focus on giving back, we not only make the community stronger, but we also create opportunities for ourselves.
It's like that old saying, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's the real lesson of the Ivy League secret. It's not about being exclusive or elitist.
Well,
It's about recognizing the power of community and finding ways to apply those principles to our own lives.
this has been a really eye-opening conversation. So as we wrap up, what's the one big takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I'd say it's this. We all have the potential to create our own Ivy League secret, a network of support that helps us achieve our dreams and make a positive impact. And it starts by shifting our focus from what we can get to what we can give.
I love that.
When we prioritize giving back, building genuine connections, and supporting each other's growth,
Yeah.
we unlock a level of success that we could never achieve on our own.
That's such a powerful message, and it's something we can all start doing today.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Ivy League secret. It's been a real pleasure.
It has.
And until next time, keep diving.